So Nate, this is really the last question for today. Is really this sounds really interesting, and I know it's of interest to people here locally where we are. And we've had workshops with one of the leading consultants in the States on dynamic governance and so on. There's a lot of interest, but you know, some people find it really quite difficult to know where to start. And there is practice and experience in Holland, which you can't go over it in a short discussion like this, but you can just allude to it. And also now in the States, there's quite a lot of practice and experience in different sectors and different sizes of organisations. And you can even practice this with couples and with yourself.
That's correct.
Ego and I, myself and me.
Yeah, it does start to merge into technologies like voice dialogue or Gestalt therapy.
You can scale it up and down to the individual with himself, and also families and small groups. And
for people who like personal transformative work and really like systemic perspectives on things, it's beautiful from that way.
Well, the other thing is, you see Adam Curtis's stuff on the misuse of self-organising concepts over the last 100 years.
Right, yes.
And how the communes in the States just didn't work because they're just relying on feedback itself.
Well, you say that they didn't work, but actually it was this fascinating series of experiments. I would say 98% of them didn't work.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty big number, actually, and a huge amount of human pain.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I don't know if the number is 2% or 1% or 15%, but a significant number did. If you go to www.ic, that's letter I, letter C.org, that's the website of the Fellowship for Intentional Communities, which is an organization I did some board level consulting for a number of years ago. And that is a tremendous resource if you're interested in...
Be interested to know what works and what doesn't.
Exactly, and they have a huge amount of that. But let's get back to your question, which is, how do you go about creating it? And were you asking me what difficulties people run into?
Yes, exactly. What makes it easier for them to start it, and what makes it difficult? They sort of shy off or something like that.
Well, one of the big difficulties people run into, and I have run into quite painfully, is thinking that they can do it all at once.
Yeah.
I'm a visionary. I am an early adopter.
Yeah.
So I tend to say, hey guys, I have this great new thing. And I convince people to get involved in doing it, and then suddenly we find out that there's actually a huge amount of applied skill that's necessary to do it correctly and in total.
Yes. And the systems, like payment systems and reward systems.
Absolutely. There's a lot of complexity there. If you take all of the best practices together, there's a lot of complexity. Yeah. But in fact, there's a very, very clear recommended way of going about it, and it is not trying to do it all at once. Right. So here's how you go about it. You start off by getting authorization from somebody who's in charge. Now, if this is a democratic system where the people in charge are the members of the organization as a whole, then maybe you are having the membership vote on it. But quite frequently, it's in a bureaucracy of some kind, a hierarchy. And in that case, you need to get permission from one or more people at the top of the hierarchy. And this is key because you are transforming the system.
Yes.
And
potentially transforming it.
No, you're transforming it.
Well, it could lead to a transformation of the system. That's the intention of some people.
Yeah, let me put it this way. I'm not aware of any intervention, any sociocracy intervention, any collaborative governance intervention that does not transform the system.
It will transform the system in one way or another.
That's what I'm saying. And I went in and did 2 meetings with my extended family. My brother and I, my brother's another consultant in the field, did 2 meetings with my extended family to discuss some struggles that have been going on for years about who owns what in an old family farm, and who's going to pay for what, and how are we going to conduct our business as a family. And you can imagine, some people hadn't been speaking to other people. Some people were carrying the load, and other people were, blaming them. And just all the morass of things that were going on. And in less than 4 hours of meeting time, our family dynamics transformed. And those transformations have continued over the last 2 years. Still 2 years later, there's a functional dialogue in which people are getting things done together.
A lovely example, Nate. Actually, it reminds you of the saying from someone from a Scottish community, who you may have heard with me and here, locally, is you have to, in communities, learn how to turn shit into compost.
Yes, that's correct.
And it sounds as though that's exactly what you did.
That's exactly right.
You transformed it and became food for the future rather than a block.
So that's an example of how we get started. You start by getting authorization to do it. So in this case, we got authorization from the family as a whole. Yes. And you pick a team where you're going to get started. And in this case, again, that was the family as a whole. But you might easily start working with an HR team or an executive team, whomever you get authorization to work with. Yes. And then you just start doing the circle process that we discussed earlier. Decision making by consent, looking at the aims of that circle and looking at shifting the rules, making new policy, deciding how you're going to go forward together. Once you start that, things change, and it is astonishing how much they change. Now, I'm not saying that every time you do it, you're going to get those, everything changes in 2 meetings and that's all you need forever. I mean, that was an extraordinary result, and your results will vary. My results vary. I get different results in different groups. But give it a little bit of time. Within 6 months of regular meetings, just those meetings, if they're skillfully facilitated by somebody who knows what they're doing, you have the authorization, you have the buy-in from the group, that will transform the way that team works.
People get confidence in the process.
Oh my goodness. Confidence in the process. They will have begun to realize that the things that they say, the things that they know, will be heard and will be included in the ongoing way that their team works. They will have found ways of measuring the work that they do
together.
Exactly, that allows them to make intelligent experiments together. Basically, you look at any study of high-performing teams, and they will be moving in a positive direction on every measure that's distinguished for high-performing teams. And as they go, they can begin to take on other best practices that they perceive as being important.
Right.